Oh, why am I not hearing it?
Are we letting people in now?
Christopher is saying that people must change their how they're entitling their tile. Their tile. We must see that. Otherwise, they will be kept in the waiting. They have to officially designate themselves.
I'm not sure they can change their name in the waiting room.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
It is time for people to start changing their tiles so that we can identify people by names. 53 members of WASLI. This year, 27 are expected. I'm not going to be, Christopher, I'm not going to be able to work with all of that back chat coming back at me. I'm just having the Spanish coming straight back at me. So I can hardly, I've got it selected on English. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. I don't know about other people. Andy, I can take my camera off. Yes, no problem. Giorgio, can we please change your name to your association and your country, please? Just so that we can start to see that properly named tiles. Okay, everybody. Just to have everybody on notice, please can you make sure that you change the name of your presence here to your association, as well as your name. So your country, whatever that identifies you. Secondly, we have a list from 2023 where WASLI has 38 members. At the moment in 2024, we have 27. So if you're not of that 27, you do not have voting rights. Can we disable that noise?
Yes, Christopher, I'm having troubles typing in the box, the chat, but yes.
Okay. I think it looks like we are ready. I must just check that we have the correct number of members present before we go ahead. And we have to go by the 2024 list. Instead of the 53 countries of 2023, we only have 27 paid national members. 27. And our protocols mean that only those 27 can vote. If you're not from one of those 27 paying national interpreting associations, you will not have a vote at this General Assembly. So our current members are Morocco, Amilas, I think, sorry, excuse my pronunciation. The Democratic Republic of Korea, SLIK, it's called. Hong Kong, which is their association, Indian Association, Japanese Association, Malaysia, my WASLI from there, Nepal, WASLI, Koreans Association, KASLI, Taiwan Association, New Zealand, Argentina, Bolivia, Costa Rica, sorry, Christopher, I didn't catch that last one. I'm getting, so we have Saudi Arabia. Jump in, Marsan.
That was Ecuador.
Puerto Rico. The Russian member as well as Finland, France, which is a field, Italian Association, Animus, Lithuania, Scotland, Spain, Canada, Mexico, America. That's it. Those are the current members on the current list for this year. If you're not on that list, then you have to look at the WASLI records and you see that you are not paid up. These are the protocols that we have to follow. So it's only those 27 associations that will be able to vote at today's General Assembly. I hope that that's clear for everybody. No, Peru hasn't paid. Saudi Arabia also didn't pay. Okay. No, the Netherlands hasn't paid either. Okay. First thing to say is to say hello and welcome and thank you for joining us for WASLI's General Assembly of 2024. It looks like we have enough members here who have got voting rights, so we have a quorum, so we can carry on with our General Assembly. So I should introduce really the board. There's myself. I'm Christopher Stone, and I am the president of the WASLI board. The vice president, I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Lydia Ko, and I'm the vice president. It's really nice to see all your friendly faces. Thank you.
Okay, next, our treasurer. Can't see her. Hi, I'm Giovanna Garcia.
Hi, I'm Giovanna Garcia, and I'm the treasurer, and I'm happy to be here.
We'll have the secretary next, please.
Hi, thank you for being here. I'm Timothy Tanat, and I'm the secretary of the WASLI board. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, thank you. And lastly, we have our deaf interpreter advisor, Arunas. Where are you? Where's your tile gone? He was there. I don't know where he is now. He's disappeared. And then we have our Swiss member who's joining the board. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name's Michelle Berger, and I'm here in Switzerland. I'm part of the board representative for Swiss legal representative here. I'm really happy to see all of you, and I hope you enjoy this meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll ask now politely that the board members switch their cameras off unless they're otherwise required. Could I also ask Bruce? You're already there. Terrific. Thank you. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Keep going. Okay. So the first thing to deal with is to mute yourself while you're not speaking. There are different language choices available for this meeting. I will be signing in International Sign. There are interpreters working from International Sign either into spoken English, as is what is happening at the moment, or from spoken English into International Sign. And we also have a Spanish service, so you can, if you want to ask a question or a comment, you can do it through International or Sign, or you can speak English, or you can speak Spanish. So we have those three languages available. So hopefully that's clear for everybody. If you've got any questions or comments, please just put them in the chat. I mean, of course, you can ask to have your camera enabled. And we are recording this meeting just for the purposes of our own records for the association. And we can move on to the next slide now. Thank you. So we've already sent out the various papers that were relevant to this General Assembly. We had a 6-month notice a couple of months ago, and we published the agenda, plus the different reports. So information has been disseminated in a timely fashion. And the General Assembly really isn't a time for exhaustive discussions. It is a perfunctory exercise that we need to get through. So first of all, we'll go through who's here in terms of attendance and apologies received. Then we'll look at the minutes from the previous General Assembly, which was in 2023 on Jeju. Now, there has been the conference, the meeting in November, which was the EGM. That was a special meeting to do with changes to our voting rights in the Constitution. But this is our first General Assembly since Jeju in 2023. The minutes have been disseminated. Everybody has looked at these minutes. Hopefully there will be no commentary there. Then we'll summarize our Executive Board annual report and take any questions, either for the board or the regional representatives. We'll then move on to the Treasurer report. Giovanna will be giving that report, and we'll be seeking approval for that report after any questions or queries. We'll take a vote in order to do that. Point number 6 is about the auditor and the nominating of the auditor. As you can see, we have independent auditors to approve our accounts. Then we'll move on to the approval of other reports, such as the ISO report. Again, we'll take questions. We have one new member from Poland to confirm the admittance of, and then we'll talk about in terms of membership fees for WASLI. Giovanna in her report will already propose this and discuss this. It won't be for this year, it will be for next year. We're proposing a slight raise of the membership fees. And then the last item that we have is a ratification of our budget forecast for the remainder of the 2024-25 year. Everything should be very straightforward this year. You can see 11, 12, 13, and 14. This year, we don't have any items in any of those areas of business. 15 is any other business. So we haven't been informed of any other business before the meeting, so that also should be very straightforward. So let's move on with our agenda. In terms of formal apologies received, Timothy, have we received any apologies?
We have not received any apologies. There are some who indicated that they would join us a bit later than the starting time, but that was it.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Well, we've received nothing formally, so that's a simple item to deal with. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda, please. In terms of our constitution, the article that is relevant to this, 12.1, talks about a 25% minimum membership attendance, and that is by paid members. So we've talked about that. I mentioned earlier that we actually have 28 paid members. In fact, it's 28. The rest of the associations haven't yet paid up. So we have enough voting members here to reach our required quorum. Abdullah, would you mind switching your video off? Thank you. So our members from all the different associations are able to take part in discussions, but the formal voting is only done by paid up members. And in terms of the general assemblies that we have every 4 years in person, we've had some slippage, but we've been better in recent years of doing that. So we now actually have to follow very strictly only those paid up associations. If you're not from a paid up association, please refrain from voting. There is a list of names. We have a list of names. Yes. So do we have a point of order from Peru? Isabel, did you want to come in and say something?
As Peru, we did pay. We have already paid our membership fees. And I've just sent through the proof of payment. So there must be a mistake somewhere that our payment has not been recorded.
Oh, so I just said that I was corrected. Peru is in. So Peru, yes, you're right. There is an extra member. So mistakes can be made. To err is human. So thank you for the feedback. Yet we've had a look back at the associations who have paid up, and we didn't have entirely up-to-date information. So we can proceed with 28 voting members, including Peru. But the rest, unfortunately, in terms of the whole of the 53 members that we have, it used to be 53. We went down to 27, now 28. So thank you to everybody that has paid up. But unfortunately, many associations haven't done. So that's the situation we're in. And normally we're flexible, but now that we're having yearly general assemblies instead of them every 4 years, we have to be strict about the rules. So I'm very sorry. I don't mean to express things in this way. And thank you very much, Isabel, for bringing that up and setting us straight.
Thank you.
Okay. So linked again to the voting processes. When we've been on Zoom, we've actually changed our system to Google Forms. The reason for that is that with Google Forms, you have to formally register your name of the association, so that we can verify the votes. So we used to do it as a poll or a Menti in other ways, but we've decided it's on Google Forms. So if your association hasn't yet paid their WASLI subscription, please do tell them how important it is for all the national associations to support the global work that WASLI does and to keep their subscriptions current. And that means you can also vote at these general assemblies. Okay, so moving on to the next item on the agenda, it's our minutes from the last General Assembly, which was held on Jeju Island in person. We sent out the minutes in good time. So we can move on. I think if we're taking any questions or comments, here are the minutes. Here's an example of some of the minutes that went out. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I think the Malaysian Association already has a comment or a question. Over to you.
Thank you. I will speak. Yep. Okay, great. So I think go back to the minutes of number 9, approval admittance of new national members. My ask is actually is not a new member of WASLI because we were member of WASLI before since in inception in 2010, I think. But we went off the grid for a while and we came back last year. So I'm not sure if the wordings can be like changed that instead of a new member, a return member, something like that. Yeah. Thank you.
We can certainly change that so that you are a readmitting member. No problem. Any other comments or questions?
Good afternoon.
Yes. Yes, but at the moment, I don't know your association, Joseph. So it's
Yes,
not.
yes.
Yeah, so I'm not.
I want
If you
to
change your
inform you.
name, if you change your name, Tal, we might be able to allow you to comment as a National Association member. If you're not, we can't allow you to talk at this General Assembly without verification of that.
Yes, I was going to introduce myself and my association.
Okay. The first thing you need to do, Joseph, is you have to change your name in Zoom. You have to change your name. I know this seems very particular, but we can't just have anybody speaking at the General Assembly. You have to put the name of your association, the name of your country first, then we'll let you speak. I'm going to wait for Joseph. I'm going to give Joseph time to do that and allow that, and then hopefully allow him to make his comment or ask a question. Also, for anybody else who's there, if you haven't yet changed your name, your identifier in Zoom, please, the name of your association, then the country. That helps us identify who everybody is.
Hello. Good morning.
Okay. Joseph, did you want to come in?
Yes, it is Rwanda National Union of Sign Language Interpreters. It is a new organization accepted by the Rwandan laws to be operating in the country. So we want to ask in this General Assembly, are we allowed to send our vote if there is something you want to vote on this General Assembly, even though we are not accepted member of WASLI? I don't know if we are allowed to say something, even though we are not accepted as the member of WASLI. So thank you very much.
Okay, just for clarification. Members of WASLI, national members, can make commentary during the General Assembly. WASLI is flexible and will listen to other attendees from national associations that are not yet members or who have not paid. Voting is linked only to those who are paid up, subscribed national members of WASLI in 2024, and there are 28 countries. This is the first time that we've had to do this, and WASLI has had to really be very strict about these rules, and we have to enforce these rules. Our previous flexibility is no longer appropriate or applicable. Thank you for your comment. You can make comments as the Rwandan Association, but you certainly will not be able to vote at today's General Assembly. Okay, again, going back to the agenda and the minutes from Jeju Island last year, does anybody have any questions or commentary about the content of those minutes? If not, we can then move on to the approval of this report and move on to the next item on our agenda. Yes. Okay. So using the Google Forms, if you are, in fact, look at the chat for instructions. If you are a national member currently of WASLI, just select yes for supporting the approval vote for this report. Or no, if you are unhappy that that's a reflection of what was discussed in Jeju. If you weren't at Jeju, you can abstain. So there are 28 eligible voting member countries at the moment. Now we'll just have 2 minutes while we allow that vote to happen. Okay, everybody, that is the time that we've allocated to allow the approval vote for the minutes. Can we please show the results of that vote? Okay, so that has been passed. Those minutes are approved. Please do bear in mind that we'll ensure that everyone who has voted corresponds to our list of current national members. Thank you. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Okay, we've already disseminated our executive report, the board report for the year, so everybody should have received that in good time. So again, now, any questions or commentary linked to the executive report from WASLI? There's myself, the Vice President's report, the Treasurer's report, the Secretary's report, the Swiss Members report, and the Deaf Interpreter Advisors. And all of those are in there, so any of us can take questions or commentary at this point in the agenda. Nothing being offered or coming forward. I think that we can then any general questions for our regional representatives coming out and flowing from that report? Again, I see no takers. So I think now we can move on to the vote regarding the executive report. So we're now going to vote for the approval. Again, I direct current national members and eligible voting associations to use the Google Forms voting process. Can we move on to the next link, please? The next slide. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So that link in the chat is how you vote on via the Google Forms. Again, we'll allow 2 minutes. So please, if you are a current national member, WASLI, vote. If you're not, don't. One minute left for voting. Okay, the time's up for the approval vote. Can we please have a look at the voting results to see if we have people, how many are in favor and how many are not? Okay, that's ideal. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for that unanimous vote. Okay. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. We can move on again. Next slide, please. And next, keep going, keep going. We've done that approval, so we're on to the next item. Here we are. Perfect. Now it's my pleasure to hand over to Giovanna Garcia. You have been sent the financial reports. I'm delighted to hand over to her to present that report.
Hablaré en español en estos momentos, aprovechando. Hablaré en español, se transmitirá entonces en español el reporte con interpretación en lengua de señas y posteriormente pues en inglés, de tal manera que hablaré pausado. Lo importante de este reporte es lo que ya he mencionado, de que precisamente tenemos una disminución de personas que tenemos miembros como miembros activos.
Marsan,
Entonces,
are you okay to, sorry, can I just hold on a second? It's not getting rendered into English. Marsan, are you okay to grab this? Just, you're going to have to go off Fernando.
en este sentido, creo que se está escuchando con retorno del inglés. Disculpen
Just
eso.
hang on 1 second. We'll just slow things up.
¿Lo hago en señas?
One moment. Just one moment. No, Giovanna, you're absolutely fine to speak in Spanish. That's no problem. Can we first of all get the captions enabled, because we have paid for a caption service. Marsan, you can then choose whether to read the captions or to watch Fernando and go from his international sign, because we will need a rendering into English. So we have paid for this. So let's get the caption translation happening. And then people can then decide their own linguistic landscape and soundscape for their own access. Sorry to interrupt you there, Giovanna. We just needed to get the languages correct.
Bien, entonces tenemos una disminución de miembros activos, como estaba mencionando. Queremos motivarlos, sabemos la situación que estamos viviendo a nivel mundial, la conocemos, sabemos los
The
problemas
interpreter is unable to pin the
sociales y
current IS
políticos que
interpreter, but we
actualmente
will try
hay
our
en
best.
nuestros países. Sin embargo, es necesario de que se motiven a seguir confiando en nosotros, en WASLI. Hemos hecho medidas que han sido drásticas, por ejemplo, algunas personas nos han manifestado
So
en
we
este
have
momento
worked
de, "Oh, sí,
with
estoy
the
activa",
finances
otros,
and
"No estoy
really, really
activa".
hard, and hope that you
Hemos decidido tener un mayor control de forma directa, nos hemos deshecho pues, de un
Yes.
gasto que anteriormente era muy costoso, como era alguien que nos
Yes.
llevara nuestros certificados, alguien que se comunicaba con ustedes para...
So no
Perdón.
English.
Mm.
I'm only getting Spanish, and then I'm trying to see from the IS.
So
But I can't from you. I am.
stop talking. Stop talking. Hello, Marsan. Just mute the original audio and you'll be fine. Just mute the original audio and you'll be fine. Okay.
And if this interpreter could please have an option to pin Senas. So small.
Voy a silenciar el audio original que me menciona acá, a ver si con eso vamos a probar. ¿Eres tú? Listo.
So
You pin him
Spanish
yet?
and English will be coming through at the same time. Thank you, co-host. Yes.
Sí.
We can't hear you, Fernando.
Reporte anual,
Ironically.
reporte anual,
Okay.
reporte anual.
Marsan, you okay?
Yes. So Marjan can
Perfect.
see and have turned off original
Disculpan los
sound
problemas
and going up
técnicos.
to English.
Good luck.
Is that correct? Fernando, do you get only one Spanish input, or do you get both? You get both? Yes. And that's because I'm not in the interpreting channel. I'm on the, so I can't give an English.
Vale. Vale, vale. Vale, vale, sí, tranquilo.
Yes. No. I am a participant listening as well.
Okay. Our technology person, can we please add Marsan into the English channel so that she can render into English whilst we have Spanish simultaneously? Therefore, participants can choose whether they want to listen in English or Spanish or both if they want to. But people can choose to either mute or unmute the original audio, watch either version of the captions, which will hopefully automatically be provided in both Spanish and English. Well, not hopefully, they will be. I've seen it at my end, so hopefully you will be able to see those.
Yep.
Is the subtlety there?
Marsan
Okay.
also don't have access to the subtitles or to the captions.
Yeah. Marsan, go on more. You need to hit the more button at the bottom right and it will give you captions.
It only gives me the Spanish. Hang on.
Okay, if I could just have everyone's attention. Marsan, if you pick CC for captions, then a bar should pop up and you should be able to select what caption language you want, Marsan. It should work for you. So you go translation and then pick English. Okay.
Translation.
I mean, perhaps people weren't aware of these Zoom features, that they have these translation features. So you have to proactively select languages, captions, all those sorts of things. And you can have it in French, Arabic, Spanish, Malay. You can have the captions in whichever language you like. Okay, if everybody's ready, Marsan's got her captions set. We can hopefully go back to Giovanna and allow her to present her report. So sorry for those interruptions, Giovanna, and your patience. Let's hope that the report can proceed.
Entendemos los problemas técnicos, no hay problema.
Thank you. We understand the
Continuando con
technical
el
issues there.
reporte, efectivamente tenemos menos
We'll have the
miembros,
sound
por
that
tanto, es
flashes
menos dinero.
because Marsan is still not
Eso
in the
se
English
ve
group.
no solamente en reflejado en los ingresos que tenemos, que son menores, sino también en lo que se aloja pues, en nuestras cuentas. Hay que hacer una aclaración en cuanto a las medidas que hemos tomado para poder paliar la situación este año. Hemos disminuido todo gastos. Por ejemplo, la persona que anteriormente nos hacía las certificaciones, verificaba los pagos, a partir de este mes ya no está. Eso es un ahorro de aproximadamente unos $3,000 al mes, unos 12 al año. Entonces, es la forma en que hemos nosotros tomado como junta para poder equiparar gastos con ingresos. Los animamos a que puedan seguir confiando en WASLI, a que puedan seguir siendo parte de nosotros y que animen a esas personas, a esos miembros nacionales que ustedes saben que en estos momentos no están, para que puedan seguir formando parte de nosotros, es importante seguir siendo miembros de estos movimientos asociativos y especialmente de la madre de los movimientos asociativos. Tenemos varios anuncios a lo largo del año que ya nuestro presidente nos los hará saber acerca de cómo sabemos que los problemas son mundiales de economía y que de nuestro bolsillo específicamente salga cómo poder seguir colaborando con aquellos países que de pronto no tienen los medios para poder seguir siendo miembros activos de WASLI a través de cierta forma de donaciones que más adelante se les irá comentando acerca de eso. Y también en el punto 7 se va a hablar acerca de aumentos en las membresías, que desgraciadamente es algo necesario, pero también estamos haciendo ajustes para que sea de una manera equitativa. Con eso termino mi reporte. Quedo atenta a preguntas.
Okay, do we have any questions? Thank you very much for that report, Giovanna. Looking for questions and commentary on the Treasurer's report. Okay, if there are no questions or comments, we can move on to the next item on the agenda. So the next slide, please, which I believe is going to be the approval of this report. Okay, can we move on to the next slide and the next item on the agenda, please? Okay, I think, are we ready to move on? The new Google Forms in the chat. Okay. Okay, so the Google form is in the chat. So if you are a current national voting member, please do go ahead and vote on the approval of the Treasurer's report. Can we start the 2-minute clock, please, to allow people to vote? Okay, again, time is up for the current vote. Can we please see the results of that vote? Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, if we move on to the next item on the agenda. As you can see from this slide, this is something that we have to do, and we have already sent out the information regarding this item. There were questions for members in terms of Swiss law. We don't have to legally have an auditor. You can have an auditing service, but you don't need to. Also, the auditor doesn't, in terms of their qualifications, they can be a variety of different people and entities. So the Swiss Association have said to us that it's perhaps normal for a couple of people to be asked to volunteer several hours of their time just to come and inspect accounts and finances. So that's really what the auditing process is in the Swiss context. WASLI hasn't had auditors up to now, but it is good practice to have auditing services for associations. So we're now asking if there are any associations that would like to put nominate people to take part in this very informal and comparatively lightweight auditing process. So we have to decide whether we want formal auditors, whether there are people here who are willing to volunteer to be those auditors. They can be members of national associations. That's really the process that we're going to undergo right now. So the first thing I'd like to open the discussion regarding is we would like 2 people to meet with the treasurer before next year's General Assembly, just to be to have them walk through the finances so that they can present the report. Now, so we're really looking for questions or comments about that, the idea of doing that, and as a process for WASLI. Any comments or questions? Okay. So if we are happy to have 2 members, I mean, say somebody gets nominated from Peru and somewhere else, then before the General Assembly, they're responsible for meeting with Giovanna and going in depth into the finances and preparing the report for national members. So we think that this scrutiny in terms of what we're doing is good. The General Assembly, we have limited time and scope, whereas these individuals will have more time to interrogate the finances and the Treasurer's report. So once again, we want to really, when we're thinking about 2025, we'd like to have people who are willing to go for 2024-25, others from 25-26. So one person will only be serving for 1 year, the other person will serve for 2, and then we'll have a staggered appointee schedule. So of the 2 people who we would like to have coming forward this year, one will serve for 1, one will serve for 2 years, and therefore we'll aim to have linked continuity in that way. The board of WASLI thinks this is a good idea. And we are keen to know whether members agree with us as to whether this is a good approach or not. So once again, I'm throwing it out to thoughts, comments, and opinions. Anybody have any questions or commentary about this proposed new auditing system? Okay, no commentary or questions being forthcoming. We really do want to vote for the idea and the concept around having these auditors, and then it will perhaps the appointment of 2 people. If associations would like to consider that and vote it formally in 2025, that's fine. And people's names can be put forward perhaps next year. Okay, so we should have a vote now as to the concept of having 2 different individuals from within the WASLI voting block. So can we have the vote up for whether WASLI should start to nominate 2 auditors on a rolling basis from 2025 onwards? It's in the chat. Great. Again, 2 minutes for current national member associations to vote as to whether you want an auditor, or, and if you feel that it's not necessary, then vote against. Can we have the 2 minutes, and can we have that beginning now, please? There we go. Okay, so that is the time that we've allowed for the vote on auditors. And again, okay, we have a decisive, clear vote with a clear majority in support of the motion that we appoint auditors. So now we would like to have 2 named people from within the current members to be the auditors. One will serve for 1 year and the other will serve for 2 years. So can we please, from the associations, have suggestions of people? They could be interpreters, they could just be known people who have expertise in that area to your association, but we need names, we need suggestions. So why don't we take 5 or 10 minutes to have a little break now anyway, and allow associations, well, we can do that and allow associations to put forward names. Or we could do it via email and electronic correspondence after today. So it's normal in the Swiss context to have the names put forward now in this context at the General Assembly. So we're deciding now whether we're going to have those names put forward here or whether we're going to do it between now and, say, September, and we'll do it electronically in terms of submissions and votes, so that associations can be good and ready, so that we are in good shape for 2025, and the auditors can meet with the Treasurer and the Swiss member in good time before the next General Assembly. Any comments or questions on that idea? Okay, there doesn't seem to be any. So I'm going to propose that we do, we message members after today and look for a vote in September. But I think we should take a 5-minute break anyway to allow people to refresh themselves, and we will resume our General Assembly in 5 minutes. Thank you. We have one report, the ISO report, and we have an expert group working with the ISO. It's the ISO working group. Isabel Herrick is the WASLI lead. She was our secretary before, if you remember, but she's now the leader of that group. And we have a number of different representatives in that group from WASLI, and they've been involved in the ISO discussions with the International Standards Organization. And there are a number of items and activities flowing out from that work in terms of interpretation, spoken and sign language interpretation in various institutions, terms and conditions, and there are a number of issues. There are lots of organizations represented. There's obviously the IE working group, there's WASLI. So we work very collaboratively together, representing sign language interpreters. Then, of course, there are some countries that are represented there in terms of the processes at the ISO. Deborah Russell, our honorary president, has also been involved as a delegate, as well as Christian Rathmann from Germany. He's a deaf professor, so he has been involved as well. So we are represented from across the globe. A report has been circulated about the work of the ISO group. So does anybody have any questions or comments about the work of that group? Isabel isn't here, unfortunately. If there are any questions, we can table them and formally submit them to her, and she can respond to members as required. So does anybody have any questions or comments regarding the ISO work that WASLI is undertaking? Once again, it seems that there are no questions or comments, so we can move on to the vote for the approval of the ISO report, please. The link is back in the chat, so if you are a voting national member, this is now your 2-minute window for voting to approve or not the ISO report. Please, if we can start the 2-minute timer. That's your 1 minute warning or sub 1 minute warning. Okay, that is the time up for that vote. So if we can see the results of that vote as to whether this report has been approved or not. Excellent. Thank you again for your support and for approving that report. Now we're on to the next item, and that is the admittance of new national members. We have voted for this in terms of changes to the constitution, and the way that the rules work now is that if an association wants to join WASLI, they first write a proposal to the board, which we scrutinise to make sure that they are in concordance with WASLI's aims and objectives. That being the case, we then propose to you as the General Assembly your approval of new members. The final vote is with the current national members as to whether they want to admit or block. We have one new request, which is by PJM, the Association of Sign Language Interpreters of Poland. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding Poland's application to become a WASLI member? That not being the case, no questions or comments. Poland have expressed their desire to be a member of the European region of WASLI. That all being fine, we will now go to a vote as to whether Poland will be admitted into WASLI as a member country. There's the Google form is now in the chat. There will now be 2 minutes, please, as a countdown to vote for the admittance of Poland. Okay, time is up for the vote. Let's have a look at the results. Excellent. Wholehearted support for the admittance of PJM. So we will warmly welcome them and inform them that they can now pay their subscription for 2024 to WASLI. With that, we shall move on to the next item on the agenda, which, as you can see from the slide, is membership fees. Now, in our report, Giovanna has already explained the rationale for changing the membership fees for WASLI. So it's a proposal for a raising of the fees for next year, not for this current year. So with that, back over to Giovanna.
Bien. Sí, hemos estado analizando el PIB o GPO es por sus siglas en inglés, el Producto Interno Bruto de cada país. Y hemos visto que han habido cambios donde países que de pronto en épocas pasadas estaban dentro de unos ingresos altos, ahora por la situación geopolítica, la situación socioeconómica, en fin, han cambiado su situación y en estos momentos ya, pues, ya no tienen los mismos recursos que
So as
antes.
we
o
all know that there are
países
socio-economic
que
situations for each country.
creo que otra
The
vez está
captions are
cruzando la
not accessible to this
información.
interpreter, unfortunately.
Vamos a hacer otra vez el problemita técnico, un momentito.
There seems to be a clash with the current interpreter signing and the voices of Giovanna as well as Marsan going into English. So Marsan will step away for now and we will follow the IS. Thank you.
Me avisa. No hay problema. Entonces, cuando esté lista, me avisa. Hacemos una prueba.
English captions are available.
Sigue cruzando más.
I can hear you.
Bien, sigo hablando, a ver si es posible entonces que no se cruce. Creo que ya.
I mean, I can read the subtitles. It just means I'm just keep working. But okay.
La persona dijo que puedes continuar porque ella no va a hablar, la
Vale.
otra intérprete, y van a utilizar los subtítulos.
Vale, perfecto, no la estoy viendo. Vale, muchas gracias. Bien. En- para la membresía del año que viene, desgraciadamente se ha previsto de que sí tenga un aumento en el valor, obviamente de una manera equitativa con respecto a los ingresos. Para esto se está haciendo un análisis país por país.
Okay, what's being said is that you're still getting interference. I can't speak then.
No, we cannot do any English verbally. We'll have to only access the English captions, unfortunately.
Ujú.
Le acaban de dar la indicación a los intérpretes de señas internacionales que no pueden hacer interpretación a voz, que solamente van a tener que leer los subtítulos. Así que, Giovanna, creo que tú puedes continuar.
Vale, muchas gracias. Bien, entonces actualmente tenemos unos niveles o pagamos la membresía nacional de acuerdo a unos niveles de ingresos. Estos niveles de ingreso desgraciadamente van a tener que modificarse. Hay países que muy bien han aumentado su PIB o su Producto Interno Bruto, y ya no están países, no son tan empobrecidos, ya tienen unos ingresos medios. Por ejemplo, Cuba es uno de estos países. Sin embargo, sabemos de que la situación mundial prevé de que el déficit en todos los países va a seguir en aumento. No se prevén en un PIB global que hayan porcentajes que sean significativos. En base a eso se está planificando. No queremos que esto golpee fuertemente este año, sino que ustedes lo puedan aprobar, puedan leerlo y puedan entender las cifras durante este año y de esta manera ser aprobado para el otro año. Quiere decir que sí tendremos previsión de aumentos para el próximo año y va a ser en base a equitativamente el Producto Interno Bruto que nos arrojan diferentes organizaciones mundiales, como el Fondo Monetario Internacional, el Banco Mundial. Bien, adicionalmente, el presupuesto para este año 2024, para nuestros gastos operativos, tratamos de que esté simplemente ajustado a nuestras necesidades. Hemos tratado de ser muy someros con nuestros gastos. Está a disposición de ustedes el presupuesto para este año. Esperamos que también lo puedan aprobar, aproximadamente un gasto de $27,000. Esto quiere decir que necesitamos mayores ingresos para poder solventar estos gastos que durante este año se están llevando a cabo. No solamente a través de membresía se pueden cubrir estos gastos porque no somos suficientes para cubrirlos. Sin embargo, las necesidades de WASLI en los proyectos y en la consecución de los planes requieren que estos gastos operativos que se han mantenido de una manera muy somera sí puedan ser costeados durante este año. Más adelante, como les dijimos, durante este año vamos a hablar de un plan de contingencia que tiene que ver precisamente con una mayor recolección de fondos y para eso necesitamos que se mantengan muy alerta, sobre todo representantes regionales, porque ustedes van a ser protagonistas en esto. Quedo atento a todas las dudas.
Thank you very much for that, Giovanna. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Obviously, WASLI, we want to give notice this year rather than having national members be shocked by this raise in fees. So we're giving you advance notice, and the board is suggesting that this is how we manage the fees. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Giovanna? Hopefully everybody understands that it's vital for the financial support of WASLI to continue next year. We need to have a safe financial base in order to fulfill all of our ambitions and our activities. Anybody have any questions or comments? That not being the case, I think we can then accept that as a board, we can then, I think around Christmas time, give or at the end of the year, another more notice for associations to discuss this. All things being well and equal, we will be raising the fees, not by a very large amount, and hopefully not making it impossible for associations to continue their relationship and their membership of WASLI. In terms of the 2024 finances, we have given a prediction as to how we expect expenditure to go for the rest of the year. So can we please move on to the next item of the agenda? Just to add to that, Giovanna has sent out our forecast in terms of our income and our expenditure as an association, as it links to the different activities, the conferences we attend, some of the work that myself and the other board members do on behalf of WASLI, and some other items of income and expenditure that we have throughout the year. Does anybody have any questions or comments about that? If they need Giovanna to explain anything further from our financial forecast. No, it seems okay. Okay, well, there doesn't seem to be any queries or comments. So let's move straight to the vote for raising the membership fees. Sorry, in terms of our forecast, I should say, for next week. So budget forecast, the Google form should be open in the chat now, and we can start the 2-minute clock. Okay, if we can have the 2-minute clock, that would be great. Thank you. I can see Ricardo Sander, but you are not linked to a national association or a country member, Ricardo. So it would not be appropriate to take any commentary or questions in this forum. Okay, time is up for the voting for the ratification of our budget forecast. Let's see the results. Excellent. Thank you again. As you can see, there is clear support for the remainder of our work under this current budget forecast for the remainder of 2024. In terms of our constitution, we have to be very clear to go through each of these items assiduously. We do not have new regional representatives due to be voted. Normally this happens in a 4-year cycle. In Jeju, we just appointed all the new regional representatives for the globe. Nobody stood down. There weren't anybody, there was no change. So we are continuing as is. We can move on to the next item on the agenda. Similarly, in terms of our executive board, that's the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and the secretary, and the deaf interpreter advisor, and the Swiss-based member. So the 6 of us comprise the executive board. And once again, at Jeju last year, all of us were elected to carry on until 2027. There was nobody. There are no changes this year to the lineup of the executive board. So this is a new executive board. We have a 4-year cycle for board elections. We now have general assemblies every year, so we now have extra flexibility in WASLI. So we could perhaps have regional representatives who may want to serve for 4 years, but life gets in the way, as it often does, and may need to step down. So now we know that on a yearly basis, at these new general assemblies, we can vote new regional representatives on and off, as also with the executive board. As I've said before, if life gets in the way, we can now accommodate that as an association and replace them within a yearly cycle. But we do aim for these positions to be, generally speaking, without incident on a 4-year cycle. If we can move on to the next item on the agenda, that's the motions put forward by the board. They're there. or you can see the slide. This year, the executive board do not have any motions to put forward to members. In September, there will be more communication in terms of votes, but if there are no other suggestions or motions, we've obviously had our EGM where we did a lot of changes to the constitution, so it's no surprise that there are no motions being put forward. So moving on to the next item. Similarly, national members, we have not received any motions for any changes to WASLI, so we can swiftly move on to the final board agenda item, or the GA agenda item for today. And that is really, hopefully, us coming to the end of this General Assembly, but we have an AOB item. So we haven't received any notification. There is an announcement that the executive want to make, and we've talked before about the ISO expert group that we have. We aim in the remainder of this year to set up other groups to support the work that the WASLI Executive Board does on an ongoing basis. So we have the ISO group. We also want to have working groups, one linked with fundraising. WASLI does want to explore other avenues for financing the work that we do across the globe. And so we're going to look for global representatives to come together in that group to strategize how we can apply and search for different finances. So we do want people who are going to be able to help us strategically identify sources of money, support our office, support national members, so on and so forth. So we'll set up a working group to that end. We also want another working group in connection to social media, and marketing and PR. So we are able to be supported now, and hopefully that will be a working group that we establish. And we also want another working group concerned with our rules and our constitution, if you like, or more the everyday rules and the everyday running of WASLI, and to improve our systems and our processes. So there are 9 regions. Perhaps we could look at having representatives for each region on each of those groups, 1 or 2 if the groups are going to get even bigger. In terms of the expert group, we want to add 2 expert groups. One is about the interpreter education. And we've received a lot of communication about supporting universities and countries to, in terms of interpreter education. So we're looking at an expert advisory group to do that. And then the third will be the professionalization of interpreting. So over the next 6 months, you can or 8 months, you can expect communication from WASLI with calls to national members to put forward names of people to sit on those expert and working groups. So that was really the aim. What we wanted to do today is just put you on notice that that's what's going to be happening, and we encourage you to put yourselves forward and get involved with the work that WASLI does. And we thank you in advance. So I think I'm able, if there's no other business to bring this meeting to a close, we've got some learnings out of this meeting. We have to think about how the interpreting is going to work, because we have an English channel, we have a Spanish channel, and then there's the general access. And hopefully people were able to take advantage of captions in different languages. I also want to thank our support, especially the technical team here. Of course, you won't see them. There are people working behind the scenes. So I think Patrick and do you want to come? Do you want to pop your cameras on and say hi? There you are. Thank you both. Okay. So they've been behind the scenes trying to making sure that everything works on Zoom. Okay. So is there any last comments from anybody before I bring this General Assembly to a close? Okay. That not being the case. Oh. Can we go to the next slide? There we go. Thank you. Arigato. Merci. Thank you for attending this General Assembly. The General Assembly has finished. We'll be giving announcements in September about the next General Assembly, as per our Constitution. It'll be 6 months before that we need to do this announcement. Plus, in March or April next year, you can expect the papers and the information. So, can everybody put the cameras on so that we can get a lovely image of what our association looks like when we're all together? Thank you, everybody. Well done. Did we get the screenshot? Okay, here we go. Everybody smiled. We wave hands.
Is it possible that we could have those who are together who are part of countries to only have photos of WASLI from the different countries?
I think Lydia is asking for people to do the name signs of their national associations, it looks like.